Hello racers! Welcome back, and today we have for you the Secrets of Power pre-release guide. We will talk about new mechanics, leaders, interactions, and powerful aspect combinations that you will be using in your pre-release. So let's start with Sip explaining you the new mechanics.
So as for the new mechanics, we have two. So first we have disclose. Disclose appears on quite a few cards. So whenever you attack with a unit, when you play it, when it dies, the card might have a disclose. Basically, you have to show cards from hand with that specific amount of aspects, with at least that specific amount of aspects. And if you do that, you get some sort of benefit. Or you avoid like a punishment, like in case of the Warrior of Clan Ordo. So whenever you play those cards, just make sure that you get the disclose, because without the disclose, in most cases, their cards are significantly weaker and often not worth playing. The other mechanic is plot. So with plot, when you flip the leader, you may play those cards from your resources, paying their mana cost, as if they were in your hand. So basically a free card from your resources when you flip your leader. And the two interesting things with those mechanics, first with the plot cards, and this set is actually beneficial for you to delay your leader flip sometimes. So let's say you play a leader that deploys on 5, sometimes waiting that one round to play the dogmatic shock squad from your with the plot from your resources might be actually beneficial. And with the discloses, the one thing that's worth mentioning is the fact that with like the more complex discloses, so like 2/3 aspect discloses, they are significantly harder to get, and especially with like the more expensive units, like those discloses become really hard with like 7, 8, 6 cost cards with the discloses. If they have like double, triple discloses, those discloses are almost impossible to achieve in a lot of cases.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is the new mechanics, so let's talk about the leaders. From the new set. This is the tier list that we prepared. Let me quickly go over the D tier. This is the leaders that you really don't want to play. Most of them are almost unplayable, and the most unplayable out of all of them is DJ, because you will not be able to build a deck with him. There is not enough double cunning cards, and without heroic and villainous, you will just not be able to build a 30 card deck. C3PO, 4 deploy leaders are not very good in limited, because in limited you really care about stats. So they need to have a really powerful ability or really good stats to be playable, and C3PO has neither. His ability is terrible, and his stats are basically a 2-drop. So really don't try to make him work. Next we have Satin Cries. Satin Cries is just underwhelming because your opponent will just really easily kill her, and because limited is mostly board control oriented, they don't care that she restores health. They will just attack into her, and you will not get anything from her flip, and without your leader flip you will most likely just lose the game. Next is Bale. Bale may be one of the most interesting leaders for constructed, but in limited, 2 cards from your hand for a 3/3 unit is just not powerful enough. Without a whole deck built around him, he is just too unreliable in value to be played. And lastly, Cassian, 6/2 is just too weak. When you cannot abuse his ability with the whole build around, it's really similar to Bale. Here we just have a 6-drop leader that will die after 1 attack, and you will not get any value from him.
Yep. As for the C tier leaders, first we have Palpatine, and both Palpatine and Dryden, who is also in the C tier, are suffering from similar issue, which is deploying on 7. Deploying on 6 in limited is fine, but 7 is quite rough in a lot of cases. And Palpatine has even bigger issue of the fact that his ability doesn't influence the board before he flips, which like super important, especially with those leaders that deploy super late, because you want to actually try to survive till their flip turn. Like he can find you plot cards for his flip, which can be nice. So you can flip into like the dogmatic shock squadron, but it's not helping with the board. So because of that, he's in the C tier. Similar for Dryden. Dryden ability is also actually a little bit better, because you can actually get some more board presence because of his ability, but still deploying on 7 is not good enough. And with Lamassu, this leader is actually interesting. Should be actually on paper quite good in limited, but so like the reason why he should be good in limited is because upgrades are good in limited in general, and he allows you to play them for cheaper. But the problem about upgrades in this set specific is that they're quite underwhelming when you compare them, especially to like other sets. Like they are just not a great ratio of stats to stats to what you need to pay for them. And with Lamassu, you also need to deal the 1 damage to a unit. If Lamassu was like in set 5, let's say, or like any of the former sets, maybe this leader would be higher, but in this set the upgrades are just not strong enough, and also like the deploy is not great.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so now let's go to the B tier. B tier, we have leaders that you are okay playing. They are not the best, but they are powerful enough that you are not hindered by playing them. And first, and the weakest out of them for me is Dedra, mostly because she is, again, a 4 deploy leader. 4 deploy leaders in limited are just not what you really desire, because you care about leader stats, but her stats are not as bad. She is 2-5, but more often than not, you will have that 2 additional power with raid, so she can trade up with few units. And also because in this set, most of the free drops have 4 HP. She can trade up, she can give you enough advantage early that you can then like have enough board presence after she dies to carry on with the game. And her ability is not terrible. 1 mana cost abilities in limited are okay, because you often will fix your draw, and her ability just gives your opponent a really awful decision. They will either give you cards or deal 2 damage. They will always choose something that is more beneficial for them, but in the end, cards are not a bad thing to have, especially when if they give the cards to you, then your leader will always have that raid ability. Next, we have Uralen. This one is really simple. It's a 5 mana 4/6 without an ability. You will maybe sometimes get something from his ability or finish a game using it once per game, but he's in good color with a decent stats, and this is all you need to know about him. And lastly, we have, what's lastly for me, we have Padme. She can be one of the most powerful leaders in the set, but she is really hard to build because this clause is not as common mechanic in this set as she would want it to be. She has an insane potential with like Orzo Clan Warrior, with a 2 mana free deploy unit that has this clause. Red, because with him you will dominate the board ground insanely fast, especially if you manage to play him on turn 1. But if you don't have them, or you're in different colors, she is a little bit weaker, but still 6/8 for 6 is an okay stat line, and her ability, even if you trigger it only few times, it will be enough to make her playable.
Yep. Next, we have, after the Padme, we have Sabe. Sabe is a little bit of an interesting case, because on paper it might seem tempting to try to mill your opponent out in limited, because like you play less cards, so the fact that she gets rid of one almost every round might allow you to mill them out. But if you start doing the math, in the end, it's you can mill them, but in order for the mill to actually like give you advantage, you need to also start dealing the damage. And like it's not common, it's not super rare for you to maybe mill the opponent, like keep them with like 2-4 cards in the deck, but it's kind of hard to get to the point where you actually start to deal the damage to them. And if you milled them but didn't deal any damage, you don't really get that much value out of it. Like one thing that's nice about her is the fact that in draft, is pre-release or sealed, like whatever, you can actually get quite substantial value from looking at the top 2 cards and discarding one of them, because like the power difference between cards in your opponent deck can vary quite a lot. So that's nice to think about her. But the downside is that you need to go base, and with draft you and like limited, you don't necessarily want to always go face. You in all cases you want to take a trade up. So like you kill your opponent unit, your unit survive, or you kill your opponent units, like your opponent strong unit with your relatively weak unit. But with her, you're kinda heavily inclined to go base, which is a little bit annoying sometimes. Next with Price. Price doesn't really have that impressive deploy. She's a 4/6. That deploys on 6. So not a great deploy. But what makes her good is, first of all, her color, but her flip after she starts attacking can be actually quite strong because she creates those tokens whenever she attacks, the spy tokens. So yeah, you have that, and also you can use her ability from time to time before you flip. And there's also Slimore, the last leader in the B tier. This leader ability before you flip from time to time will happen. Sometimes there will be enough exhausted units so you can actually create the spy. But what makes this leaders good is the ability post flip and the fact that you can deal the 2 damage with the on attack to exhausted units. Like that's the power of this leader basically.
Yeah. And now let's go to the A tier. Now we have leaders that you really want to play. This is the leaders that you want to look for and build around. And Luten is the first one of them. Luten ability is much more relevant than before playing I anticipated. The fact that spy tokens in him trade for 3 damage, and after his flip, those trades becoming impressive. You can either trade unit and go base, you can trade unit and just trade up with killing like space units, with killing other things that you wouldn't normally be able to trade into. And 2/7, even though it's not the best stat line, the 7 means that he will probably survive for a few actions, and you will be able to get his ability to the point that maybe you will be able to empty the board. And he thrives into board combat, and this set is really heavy focused on board control and board combat. So this is why he is really, really powerful.
Yep. Next we have Mon Mothma. Mon Mothma is specifically good in sealed / pre-release, much stronger than in draft. And the reason for that is because like when you open your packs in sealed, you get like a wide variety of cards that will be spread across different aspects. And what is good about Mon Mothma is that she can utilize a lot of those cards because of her ability to play the non-villainy officials even though they are out of aspect. And the reason why that's good is because you get way more choices when it comes to what you want to put finally in the deck, and that extra choice will in the end result in you having higher quality of units in the deck than you would have been able to with your other readers. So that's a super nice thing about her, specifically for pre-release / sealed. And her ability post flip to give +0/+1 to your officials can sometimes influence how the trades end up. So it's a nice bonus, and being a 3/7 that deploys on 5, like she's decently well statted.
Yeah, exactly. And lastly, in A tier, we have Jabba, my favorite leader to play in Limited. His ability before flip to deal damage if you have damaged unit is good, but not amazing. You will sometimes just manage to ping something off, or in specific situation even deal 2 damage, but he shines when you flip him. I think this is the most powerful flip in the set. He basically makes that every single trade you will do on the board will give you huge damage potential. And this is one of the leaders that Sip mentions before that you can wait with the flip. This is basically the leader to do it. You really need to play around this leader, and putting him behind the Sentinel is one of the biggest value plays you can do. So if you have the 4/6 Sentinel on plot, this is the leader to wait for, because that Sentinel will not only survive, but when he survives, he will deal that damage back to your opponent. And it's really hard to control the board against Java. And this is what makes him really, really good.
Yeah, he's solid, but unfortunately he's not close to Leia, who is our only S tier leader. It comes probably at a no surprise. Like, experienced leaders are just really strong in limited format because the experience allow you to set up really strong trades that you would not be able to get otherwise without the experience tokens. And we already saw that in the past with other sets. You can kind of like look at her like a Snoke. She deploys on 6 as a 4/7, and she functions very similarly to him. The difference is that in Legends you had Obi-Wan and Talzin, who actually were quite good competition for him, because like they were also like, Obi-Wan was an experienced leader first of all, and Talzin was just a leader that was able to fight for the board very aggressively. So like Snoke had a competition, but with Leia, other leaders are nice for like limited, but they're not at that level of like of Leia, Snoke, Talzin, and Obi-Wan and such. So yeah, she doesn't really have much of a competition, so she's the best choice. But yeah, that's a little bit to be expected about experienced token leaders.
Yeah, I can also add one more thing why Leia is really good, because she's also the leader that can utilize the one drops. So you basically have, it's much easier to build a deck because you have much more possible turn one plays. Because every single one drop in her is basically a premium 2-drop. So this is the other factor.
Like changing 1 mana 2/2 into 2 mana 3/3 is like super powerful.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go for common and uncommon bombs. This is the cards that you are happy to see if you are playing those colors, or can sway you to playing those colors because they have enough power to, like, if you have a choice between two different colors, those may be the cards that swing you in one way or another. And first we have Coronet. It's just really well-statted ship. That restore allows you to prolong the game. This format is not fast. The games are going a little bit slower, and this card is one of the reasons for it, because that restore will stack up. It's not an easy card to remove because 6 HP in space is trading up with most other spaceships, and the fact that as long as this card is on the board, every single unit you have that additional restore makes it just super hard to race. So whenever you play it, you basically say to your opponent, now you need to control the board, because if we are racing, I will probably win the race. Next, we have Umbral Mobile Cannon. This unit can be extremely oppressive, because to kill it, you need to deal him damage twice. Every first instant of damage that this unit takes in a phase, it's prevented. So if you manage to put this on an empty board, it will just every single round kill something. And 7 power is enough to kill, I think, every single unit in the set, or almost every single unit in the set. So this is one of the units that is the biggest amount of power for cost that you can have in limited.
Yep. Next we have the Naboo Security, 6 mana, 5/7. That when played, when dies, you can disclose green for to give a Sentinel to this guy or something else. Like, that's a really nice feature about this card, is the fact that it's a Sentinel, but you can make not him a Sentinel, but something else. Like, you can give it to your leader, so he's already well started, and the fact that you can get the Sentinel makes him super good. There is also the corporate Warmongering. So 4 mana for +3/+3 one of the units till the end of the phase, and +1/+1 for the rest of your units. that pump spell is like very like gives you basically a lot. Like that is the type of card that you use as a finisher, of course. It's really good in the racing situations, and also you can use it on Sentinels. Like that's a super important thing about this format. There are a lot of Sentinels that are quite well statted, so you will see all of those in the deck. And yeah, basically the Warmonger can buff your Sentinel, give the buff to your other units, and the opponent has to deal with your Sentinel. And there is very little spot removal for those Sentinels, so they are kind of hard to kill.
Yeah. Next, we have Renowned Dignitaries, 5/6 for 6 mana with Overwhelm, which on its own, it's not really special. It's a decent stat line, but a little bit below what you want. But the big thing for him is that he will heal you for 2 for every single official you have. He is himself an official, so he will heal you at least for 2. Heal in limited is weird because you often want to fight for the board, but in the later stages of the game, you will find the turn that you basically both will have lethal with your board, and then those heal effects can be insanely powerful. And with him, it's not only that he heals for something, he may heal you for 10. And that big chunks of healing can allow you to, for example, then sneak a unit in space and win. So he is here because we have the officials are the most common type in this set. You will almost always have an official, so the ability for him to heal is just really, really relevant. And next we have Elia Kane. Elia Kane is just really well statted unit. 4 mana for 4/6 trades incredibly well in this set. There is almost only 4 HP free drops, so she will be trading up with few of the lower costed units. And even with the 4 drops, a lot of them have 4 or 5 HP, so she can trade up even with the 4 drops. But in addition to that, her ability allows you to look at your opponent discard resources and discard a plot card, which is relevant because there are enough plot cards in the set that almost everybody will play at least a few. And even though removing them is not that big of a deal because most of the plot cards are okay, they are not amazing, but still you are reducing the amount of possible plays your opponent have, and sometimes you will even block them from having the access to their full mana, because if you hit a plot that is not tapped, they will lose that 1 mana for the round.
Yep. Next there is the Coruscant Undercity Police. So 4 mana 5/4, just a very well studied unit, similarly to Elia. This guy, like, the 5 HP threshold is quite relevant in this set. Like, there are a lot of Sentinels that he can kill, basically a lot of targets. So it's not uncommon for this guy to kill one of the 5 costs that the opponent will play. And in that situation, it's quite good because you traded your 4 cost for a 5 cost. So yeah, very well studied unit. And the same concept is applicable to the Hunting Assassin Droid. 3 mana, 3/4, doesn't seem impressive, but when there's significant damage on the board, he gets the rate 2, so essentially becomes a 3 mana, 5/4, so same stat line as the police for the free resources. Obviously, it's a rate, so and like it's a conditional buff, but yeah, it's overall strong enough. There's enough cheap damage in the set where it's not that difficult to enable this guy's like buff.
Yeah, and next we have Hunter. Hunter has 3 things that are going for him. Stats are first thing. 7/6 for 6 is really good stat line. Second one is Saboteur. Saboteur in this set is much more relevant than I think it was ever before, because amount of Sentinels in this set is impressive, and the fact that you can go around them with a unit that actually poses a really big threat to your opponent's base is really important. And lastly, if you need to trade, this one is trading really, really well, because that one -4 means that he basically will not get any damage or really small amount of damage killing your opponent's stuff. So if you manage to, similar to Umbra Mobile Cannon, if you manage to have this guy as the only thing on the board, it will be really hard for your opponent to ever get back on the board. And lastly, we have Vel Satra. It's a 5 mana 4/6 with rate 2, so it's basically at 5 mana 6/6, which is a really, really good stat line. but her ability makes her even better than normally just good stat lines, because now whenever you trade with your opponent exhausted units, you will trade up, and this is one of the few things that yellow color has going for it in limited, and she will be a really big threat in the mid games.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now we can move on to the rare/legendary bombs. You're more unlikely to see those, but yeah, here are a few cards that if you see them, they are like massive bombs. So first we have the emergency power. So one cost upgrade, one cost event that you may pay extra resources, and for every single extra resource that you pay, you get experience on a unit. So you can stack a bunch of experiences. Playing this card around like 7, 6, 8 resources will buff your unit substantially. So it's not that difficult to buff like your 5 cost, give it like 5 experience tokens. So it's a 10/10, go 10 to base, and your opponent has to claim because you have lethal. If you take initiative, you have just lethal with your unit, because let's say they have like 10 or less remaining HP after that. So emergency power is super good because of that. And also you can buff your Sentinels with it, which is also super good. Next there is Rex, 6 mana, 7/7 Sentinel. Like that kind of speaks for itself. Like he's like super well statted, and the fact that you can give like technically he says that you need to give a Sentinel to opponent unit, but you can just give it to a unit in space or a unit that you want to kill anyway. So like the downside of him is not really that relevant, and the fact that he's like 6 mana 7/7 Sentinel like speaks for itself.
Yeah, I can also add that it can sometimes be a bonus, because there is enough Sentinels in the set that sometimes you will just, oh, you wanted to protect that, I will just play him, give Sentinel to something else and kill it. But yeah, one more thing I wanted to add with emergency power is because in this set there is not really removal that just says kill a unit. Those kind of buffs are insane because you don't have a reliable way to remove them. Okay, and next we have the Mandalorian, the card that we spoiled, and it at least will be played in limited. And in limited, it's actually quite good. 6/8 ambush for 8 is okay. It's nothing amazing, but because of the fact that spy tokens and low statted units are prevalent even in the later stages of the game, his ability is actually really good. And also because the removal is not as good, it's really hard to remove him afterwards. So he can go 2, 3, 4 for 1, which allows you it's one of the units that allows you to go back in the games that you are behind or secure games that you are really ahead. Next we have Lightmaker, and this is just simple. It's just 7 power unit in space for 5, can close the games really fast, and this is one of the few units in the set that have enough damage to make the games quicker. And when your opponent decides to kill it, even if they can, which is not that easy, you will at least have that small benefit of exhausting everything they have in one of the arenas. So they will basically have 2 bad choices. They will either need to kill it as a first action and exhaust everything they have, or suffer that 7 damage and then kill them afterwards. But it's just a really bad options for both sides.
Yep. There is also the Stolen Star Path unit. 1 mana plus 4 +1/+1 doesn't seem impressive, but whenever you attack with the unit, you can name the card. If you name the card that the opponent has in his hand, you get to create a spy token. So a pretty solid upgrade. Nihilus, 7 mana 6/6, not impressive, but like Beto mentioned with the emergency power, it's kind of hard to kill big units, and he will get the experiences whenever you trigger his ability. So yeah, powerful card.
Yeah, next we have Punishing One. Even though 3/5 it may not look amazing, he will always have that at least rate 1, and repeatable ping abilities are kind of powerful, and you don't really pay anything in addition to it because you will do it when played and on attack every single turn. And Fulminatrix is just insanely OP. The only thing that like puts him behind is that it's an 8 drop. You will not always go to 8 mana, but if you manage to put that unit on the board, your opponent will really need to think on how to remove it, because if they don't, the game will not only end quick, it will end with them having nothing on the board.
Yep. Next, we have Amidala, which probably will be already a bomb in Constructed, and same gonna be for Limited. There are a bunch of officials, so you can easily get all the value from her ability, but even without them, like she's absolute powerhouse. Figure of Unity, a very solid upgrade. Gives the rate restore to your other units, and like upgrades baseline are already powerful in Limited, so just slam this on your leader and you're in a good position. And there is also Mon Mothma, 7 cost, 5/8 with restore 3, pretty decent stat line, and her ability when played can allow you to get some really good trades even when you already attacked with your units.
Yeah, exactly. So now let's talk about traps. We will not go long into those cards, but this is the cards that you should be wary that they are weaker than you thought, or they are just unplayable. And first of them is Alderian Envoys. 6 mana, 3/7 is not amazing. And that restore 3, you cannot treat it like rage 3. They are trading down mostly, and you will rarely get enough value from them to be played. Defense Fleet X-Wing, 1/4 in space, trades awfully in the set. It will always trade down. Only play this unit if you have no other options.
Yeah, or I guess Leia could be a case where you can give it experience tokens, but it's not a great unit baseline. Next we have the Carrier. 8 cost, like it's super expensive unit, doesn't really have that great of an impact when he's played, so not a great card. Renowned Friendship, 4 mana for creating only 2 spies and getting a card like a unit from the discard. Getting card advantage in Limited is not super impactful, so not a great effect, and spies are pretty easy to remove for the most part. Trader Taxation, removing your opponent's ability to play events will not really matter that much, because it's kind of hard to tell even whether or not the opponent has the events, and you need to pay for this card in the first place.
Yeah. Operation Breeds Rebellion, draw is not good in Limited. Restrictive draw is even worse. So, and paying 3 mana for it can just lose you the game. Republic, Aurex, Starfighter, 3 mana for 2/3 grid may be decent in like Legends. No, it's
Leia.
Yeah, in Leia. I think in Leia it's the only reason to play this card. We don't have pilots, we don't have anything to buff it really in the set, so it's just not a good unit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And budget scheming. Budget scheming is weird. You really need to have an official deck for this card to be good. If you're playing Mon Mothma, you can consider playing this card, but if your amount of officials is like less than 12, I would try to skip playing that card.
Yeah, next is the Tempest Assault, paying 4 mana, folding only 2 damage to space units in the opponent's arena. Like that's not a good ratio. Galeon, 7 mana, 6/6, that when played can create spy tokens, but like I mentioned, with the expensive discloses on cards like on 7 resource cards, those are almost impossible to get. So yeah, not a great card, and so it's basically a 7 mana, 6/6. Next, we have the Valiant Commando, 3 mana, 3/3. Not a great stat line. Like those are the stats of a 3 drop, basically, or of a 2 drop. And like the ability to protect your base a little bit is okay, but yeah, not great. And lastly, there is the Strike Force X-Wing, 4 mana, 3/2 for dealing. And when you play him, you do 2 damage to something. Also, pretty bad stat line for what you pay for it. It has plot, but yeah, overall not enough to make the card good.
Yeah, I can only add that this card also is not that great because there is so many deal 2 damage in the set, so it's even worse than normally. And normally it would still be not that great card. Next we have Cinta. A lot of people think this is one of the bombs in Constructed. In Limited it's basically awful. You don't want you will not be able to kill your opponent. That action economy will not matter in Limited, and 6 mana 5/5 is just not good enough as a stat line to like get enough value from that one attack. And Pursue the Lead, 2 mana for a discard is really bad, because if you would choose what they discard, it would be okay. You don't, so it's basically a random discard, and your opponent, if they can, will not even give you that spy token. And discard in the limited is not great, because it's really hard for your opponent to be low on cards whenever you play 1 card a turn normally in limited.
Yep. Next is the unauthorized investigation, paying 3 mana for creating 2 spy tokens. Not great ratio, and also it's hide behind the disclose. So yeah, pretty bad card overall. Garandian, this is a little bit of an interesting thing, but I would say this card is a little bit difficult to play. Like if you feel comfortable with him and your ability to name the cards, like then even like the knowledge of what is in the set, then you can play him. And kind of same for Cinta. I would say Cinta is also a card that you'll probably play, but don't look at the Cinta as if she was like a bomb. Like she's pretty decent in constructed, but like Battle mentioned, like her ability in limited to cheat the action economy will not really influence the board that much.
Next we have Regulation Bureaucrat. If you have initiative, this card may be good, but after that, 0/5 basically does nothing. And if you don't have initiative, it also does nothing, because your opponent will just spend that mana. So it's a really risky card. I would probably sideboard it in and out depending on if I have initiative. But even if you have initiative, it's not like, oh, I have an amazing unit, because you still played something that doesn't push any damage on turn 1. Undercover Operations, you can ready a unit that was played this phase, and if it's cost 3 or less, you get a spy. It's really hard to get value from it. It sometimes will maybe get you lethal, but it's not a card that will be consistent, and inconsistency in limited tournaments can lead to really like bad losses.
Yep. Faith in Friends is just a card that like has a super difficult disclose to get, and playing this card on turn 1 might seem tempting, but creating 2 spy tokens is not great, because let's say the opponent plays a 3/3 a 2/3, like a typical 2-drop. You play Faith in Friends, create 2 spy tokens, and even like let's say you got the disclose. Next round what will happen? The opponent will just kill one of your spy tokens, so you're left with a 0/2 on the board with rate 2, and the opponent has a 2/3. So you are already on the back foot, because your unit is not trading well with him. You can trade into him, but his unit will survive. If you go base, then next round what will happen? Your spy token will just die to that same 2-drop. So yeah, not a great card because of that. Charge with Espionage, paying 2 mana for discarding cards. Yeah, not a great card. Like Beto mentioned, this card is not really doing anything in this format.
Yeah, Accelerate Our Plans. This is not a bad card. We put it mostly here to warn you guys. This is not Surprise Strike. You will often not be able to trigger it. It's basically a Surprise Strike that you can only use as a first action in a turn that you want to kill your opponent. The fact that it costs less means nothing. Buff cards really, the cost not really mean a lot for them. And so this is a card I would still play in most of the decks I build, but it's like a one-off. I would not put more than one, and this is a card that you will struggle to use other than just finishing the game. And lastly, the Wrong Ride. Paying 3 for resourcing 2 resources of your opponent is just inefficient value, and even though in constructed it may be like a really, really good value because you can block certain points, in limited you have no idea what your opponent have in their deck, and sometimes you may just pay 3 mana to do nothing. So it's just too risky.
Yep. Next we have the Sentinels. So this, like the point that we just wanted to make the point that we stated before, like there are a lot of Sentinels in common and uncommon in this set, so that makes the format overall slower, especially in blue and green, as it historically has been that those colors were having a lot of Sentinels in general, and they're like also well started. Like you have the Shock Squadron, you have the Cruel Commandos, Nabu Security, even something like the Escort Tank. Like all those units are pretty well started for their cost.
Yeah. And next, we wanted to shout out upgrades. Upgrades are really, really good in limited. This is something that we always say. In this set, there are a lot of them. There are a lot of common and uncommon upgrades, but they are not great. The plot upgrades, they are good, but you are basically locked into playing them from plot to have any value. The only really good upgrades are diplomatic immunity, creditor's claim, and maybe nimble prowess. But even though, like, diplomatic immunity is basically 2 mana +2/+2. This clause is really hard to do, and 2 mana +2/+2 is a really good in limited, but this is not a set that you have like bombs in upgrades.
Yep.
And
I would say the Unveiled Might and Ferocity are okay, but they're like not like crazy upgrades.
yeah, you would play them, but they
Yeah.
are not bombs.
Exactly. Next with the upgrade hate, we have a few upgrade hate cards. So there is the Junior. So if you play against yellow, keep that in mind that the opponent can bounce your free cost upgrade. When you play against red, they could play the Outer Limb Constabular, who just when played can defeat upgrades. And also there is Kaidel, who when you play against any deck that on the flip turn they could have her in the plot to defeat your upgrades. So keep that in mind also when you play against the red heroic decks.
Yeah, and Kaidel is really important because, as we can see, not a single one of the upgrades is unique. So she basically says defeat all upgrades on a unit. So there is also a lot of upgrade hate in the sets that have a lot of upgrades. So you would need to be worried, because if you play upgrade and your opponent just slams the 2-drop and kill it, you can be really heavily behind because of it.
Especially if you plan to play emergency power.
And next, okay, let's talk about interactions. These are the bread and butter of limited. So what removal every single color have, and in this set there isn't a lot of it. There is not a single card that basically said kill something. Like there is no vanquish, there is no takedown, there is no fell the dragon, there is no rival's fall. Retaliation is the closest one, but it's still your opponent had to attack your base with this unit. Really cool thing with this card is that it targets leaders, so this is something you need to be worried about. If your opponent have untapped 5 mana, if you play Jabba, sometimes it's better to not attack base than for that to damage, because you really want that unit to stay around. Then you have Knowledge at Defense, -2/-2, draw a card, is decent in Constructed, but in Limited it's not that great. It will allow you to trade up mostly, but it's that additional card really doesn't give you enough for this card to be really powerful. Charged with Murder, 4 mana for a removal that is already locked behind a specific condition, because the unit needs to be damaged. And in addition to that, it also has this clause. This is a really hard card to play. Of course, you will need to be worried about it, but this is not like I have blue removal, I will just stack all of them and play blue because blue is so good. Blue doesn't have really as good removal as it has in previous sets. And last two are Death Trooper, 2 damage. We are playing this card from set 1. We know how good it is, and it's even better in limited format. And lastly, Catwell Cruiser. It's a really powerful unit, but for 7, that disclose is not an auto disclose. You may not have it, but when you do, this unit is actually quite hard to remove, and it basically says until this unit is removed, your opponent doesn't have a unit.
Yeah, well, like one thing that I wanted to add with the Arrestor Cruiser, like the reason why this card is, for instance, way better than something like the Galeon is because blue and green decks tend to play slower than red and yellow. So because of that, you'll have in a lot of cases more cards in hand. So it's easier to trigger the blue and green discloses in like later stages of the game.
Yeah.
Next, we have the interactions in green. So first we have the commandos, 5 mana, 4/5 ambush that has plot. So when you're playing against green heroic decks, keep in mind that on the flip turn they can play this. Phoenix Uprising, the card that deals damage twice the amount of units that you have on the in one of the arenas. Solid removal, but like it's not that easy to get like a good value, because like the opponent can interact with your units, he can kill your units, so it's sometimes awkward. Chart with corruption, it's hidden again behind the double disclose, so like double green disclose. So the disclose where we need to show two of the same aspect are a little bit tough to pull off in all cases. So yeah, this is a solid removal, but again, like it's not always working. Crawler, 7 mana, 6/7 ambush, a very solid unit. Same for Dedra, 6 mana, 5/5 that creates the spy when she attacks with ambush. Solid unit.
Yeah, I can only add to Ferrix Uprising that in previous set we had Protect the Pod, that you would be play off aspect in almost any deck. It's not the same with Ferrix Uprising. You would never play this card off aspect. It's really unreliable. It's barely okay to have it for 4 mana.
Yeah, I would say, like, when it comes to removals in this set, I think the only removal I would play out of aspect is Big Whale. But yeah, we'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah, next we have interactions in red. So Strife Force X-Wing, you need to be wary of this card because people will play it, even though it's not really good. AAT in Incinerator, it's a decent ping outlet, but not really that great because you will most often need to ping your own unit with it, because that 2 damage into the base is also like a heavy drawback. Charge with Treason is weird. 4 mana for dealing 5 damage would be really good, but this disclose was really hard to do, especially in red. Double red on 4 mana was, in many games that we played, it was almost impossible to do. But next, then we have Let's Call It War. This is for me the most common and the most prevalent removal that you will see. 3 mana to deal 3 damage, and if you have initiative, you can also deal 2 damage to another unit in the same arena. It's really good removal, and you will really need to play around it if you are playing versus red. And lastly, Tempest Assault, 2 damage to everything in space. It's something that you can think about, but if your opponent plays it, you will most likely get ahead from it anyway.
Yeah. When it comes to interactions in yellow, there are fewer of them. Lone Shark, just an okay ambusher, ISB agent, something that can heal 1 HP units, and Big Whale, which is kind of a waylay, doesn't work on cards that cost 6 or more. So yeah, weaker than waylay, but probably still good enough to play it out of aspect, because hitting, like bouncing the 6 HP, 6 cost units is good enough in my eyes.
Yeah, exactly. And lastly, interactions in neutral. All of them are common, so this you will see a lot. So Grasshoot Resistance is actually decent. 4 mana for 3 damage and heal 3 for your base can be really good into later stages of the game when you are racing, but it's just a card that you can add into your deck and you will not really be hindrance because it will be most useful in many situations. Heroic Arc is like much better version of the red one. 4/3/4/3 is actually a decent stat, and even though his 2 damage is hidden behind a little bit of a gateway, you will most often have a damaged unit on the board. And lastly, Concept for Culture is actually a really decent card. I was surprised because 2 mana to deal 2 damage is mediocre, especially that you cannot deal into the vehicles, but the fact that it leaves that spy token was often enough for this card to be at least decent.
And lastly, we have the color rating. So for the color rating, we have in the C tier and B tier we have the yellow. Yellow historically never has been the best color, and this time around it's the same. Like the problem of yellow is that it has a lot of filler cards that are not really playable, a lot of like events that just don't really do anything. So that puts the yellow in the lowest tier. Also, like limited is a lot of like all about like getting like good trades, getting good value, and yellow is the weakest color at doing that. And the reason like why villainy is below the heroic is because heroic at least has like a decent units in heroic yellow, while in the villain yellow, like the units are like the quality of units is just really bad. So that's the reason why those colors are at the bottom.
Yeah, in A tier we have first both blue decks. Blue decks are actually really powerful in their own colors. So heroic blue and heroic and villainous blue, all of the cards in this combination are really powerful. The thing that brings that color a little bit behind is the fact that neutral cards in blue are not that great, and also normally removal is what pushes blue to be one of the best colors. Here the removal is actually mediocre, but what makes that color still an A tier is just how good double aspect cards are in blue.
Yep. For red, both red villainy and heroic are higher than blue, and in my eyes, the biggest reason for that is because red has a really solid 2 drops. The two mana free one that destroys an upgrade is a really good unit. Or the warrior, 2 mana 3/3. There are also like other units like the 2 mana 2/3. There are 2 of those, crosshair, and there is the ship. Like red has like a very like a lot of solid tier 1 plays, which is like the reason why it's higher on the list. It has also some other solid units like the underground police, but yeah, I would say the two costs are what makes the red better than the blue overall.
Yep. And lastly, as almost always, green. Green is the value color and limited is the value format. So this is nothing new that green is the most powerful one. It also uses the ambush ability, which is one of the most powerful parts of limited. So you have well-started units, sentinels, and ambush, and this is the 3 things that makes powerful limited decks, and this is why green is extremely good. And on top of it, in this set, green also got the most powerful 2-drops, because you have Mina Bonteri in heroic, you have the 2 mana 3/3 droid in villainous, and having a good early game is what makes a powerful deck.
Yep.
Okay. And next.
And we have the coachings. So yeah, I do the coachings. So nothing has changed. I can help you with deck building, tournament preparation, game reviewing, all sorts of things. So in case you are unsure what to play in Secrets of Power, feel free to DM me on the Discord. That's the best way to reach out to me. And the price is as per usual, €25 per hour.
Yeah, and lastly, we want to thank our Patreons. The community is growing really, really fast. We are so happy with how it's going. And when this video is released, also our new written guide for how to prepare for big tournament is also live. So I'm really happy to see that we are able to put a lot of effort and a lot of really good content into the Patreon for all the community that we have. Thanks everybody, and see you in Munich.
See ya.